As you can see, there are some difficulties with the way we have our table right now. So I'm going to start off first by putting a paragraph tag at the end of the table. That's going to give it a little space there. I am going to come up here and I'm going to find the opening table tag. Now, first thing that we look at with this table is that it is basically fitting the contents. So we can make it a little bit roomier by adding a width attribute. And the width that I want this is going to be 700 pixels. So we just type in width equals 700. I also want there to be a border. So I'm putting border equals 1. And if I save and refresh, here is what we have so far. So now it's starting to make a little bit more sense to us. We'll add a few more. Even though our border is currently black, we are going to make sure it stays that way by adding border color equals black. That does need to be all one word, no spaces in that particular attribute. And we're going to make sure that the background color of it is white, and that's BG color. Also, you may have noticed that there is a little bit of space in here, and we're going to fix that with two tags. First off, cell spacing, and if we put cell spacing equals 0, whoops, that's going to get rid of that extra line, what looks like a double line. Then we're going to add cell padding, but we're going to make the cell padding 3. And what cell padding does is it gives it a little buffer so that the text isn't right up against the edge of the table. Okay? All right. So now that we have fixed that, we have to make things fit again. Remember that our first row, these 4 cells actually span 2 columns. So I'm going to come in here, and in this first row, I'm going to put a call span equals 2, and I'm going to copy that attribute, and I'm going to go into the next TH tag and paste. And I'm going to do that until I have 4 of them. And now if I save and refresh, now it's starting to fit better. The next thing that we want to do is we want to specify the width of each individual column. Now, this is important because otherwise it's simply going to take the width of the contents of those cells, but we want to be deliberate with it. So we have in the top row, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we divide 700 pixels by 6, that equals 116. So in each of these THs, even the blank ones, we are going to make sure that we give it a width of 116. So I'm going to put that in each TH tag in the first row. Save it, refresh, and you should see it starting to line up. Now, we have, remember under this, we have four of these cells have 2 cells underneath them, or 2 columns. So we also need to put in width tags into these. You don't have to specify it in every one, because once you specify a width in one cell, every cell in that column follows along. So now we're going to go here where we have low and high, and if you think about your math, since they span 2 columns, half of 116 is 58. So I'm going to come right here, I'm going to go ahead and paste my previous one, and I'm going to change it to, to 58, not 85. And then I'll highlight that again to copy, and that'll go in each of the TH tags where there is high-low. I'm leaving the very first one blank, and I'm leaving the last one blank. And refresh. Okay, and so now that filled that out a little bit. Now, if you look in this example, you're going to see that each of these are aligned at the top of the cells. But if you look at ours, these show up in the middle and this one's at the top. And that's because by default, the vertical alignment, meaning from top to bottom, does show up in the middle. So if we go into those 4 cell tags, the TH tags, and do v-align equals top, and copy that, and I can paste it. And I do want you to take notice that every time you put in attributes, there is 1 space between each set of attributes. So I'm going to save, and I'm going to hit refresh. And now that's taking form again. Now, one thing I do want you to notice, remember we have a style sheet attached to all of our pages. And this text for these 2 cities goes on to 2 lines. And we are going to change that later as we adjust our style sheet again. Okay. Now, we have one block here that really is kind of unused, and so we can add an image here. But instead of adding it to just this one, we can actually delete a cell, delete this cell from the second row, and then make this cell span 2 rows. So these 2, instead of 2 columns, it can span 2 rows. So I'm going to go to my code, and I have my first row. This is that cell right here. I'm going to go ahead and type in row span equals 2, and then I'm going to delete that empty cell from my second row. And if I hit save and refresh, now it's 1. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to put an image there. So you will need to go to Poland Pickup. There is an image there called sunny.gif, and you need to copy it into your images folder. Okay, so here it is right here, and it's just a little sun. So in this cell now that is spanning 2 rows, I want to put an image tag, img src equals, and remember it's looking in the images folder for sunny.gif, and I should be able to save that, hit refresh, and there it is. Now, if you recall, we had a property that we put in our styles that put a blue border around the images. Later, as we adjust the style sheet, we will take care of that so that there is no blue border around that particular image. And at this point, you are done with the table, with constructing it and adding those attributes, and you can save, check your work, and move on to the next lesson.